Welcome everyone. Welcome to the show. So this is our weekly program of the Diaspora Weekly, where we bring you every week one diaspora anywhere in the world. Of an African diaspora, of course, and like I tell you what they are doing. Diaspora is not just like an immigrant; they are doing great works wherever they are. So this is like a testimony of that. So today here we have with us Milka Yemane from the Netherlands, but she is originally from Eritrea, but grown up in the Netherlands. Welcome, Milka.
Thank you so much, Mahlet. Thank you. Happy to hear here.
A few words about Milka. She, of course, I said she's originally from Eritrea, but she grew up here in the Netherlands, and she loves Africa, and it's not just for the talk. That's really manifested in her work. She is a founder of an organization called Lemat Foundation, and she actively participates, and advocating for the inclusion of the African diaspora here in the Netherlands in various sectors, governmental or non-governmental. And now she is quite a milestone, I would say. She's a candidate for the Dutch Green Party. We will talk about that in detail, but just for if there's anything I'm missing for our viewers, who is Milka? How did it like the journey coming from Eritrea to here, and the perception, and the mingling? You have the culture at home of Eritrean culture, I assume, and then the society. There's a Dutch culture. Tell us about that.
Thank you, Mahlet. So I was very young. I was like 5 years old when I came to the Netherlands, and like you said, like you grow up actually in between two cultures. But for me, that's really a lot of richness. Like you can get the great things. I always say, just we are taking the best of both worlds. The whole rich culture and environment we are originally from, and then coming here and then also taking this one and incorporating into like this new subculture, I guess, like the diasporian culture maybe. And it's been I'm very happy with that. I'm a very proud diasporian. Like I love everything that we learn from our culture, coming in the Netherlands. It's the Western countries more and more individualistic, and if you look at our cultures, like how it's a lot of about the we, and you are so much like together, and the cohesion, and also looking out for another. I think these are some very nice things that we are proud of, and really happy that I grew up with these nice cultures as well.
Interesting. I will quote you on this. I read that in one of I think in your interview. I did a little research about you, and then you say, I quote, I fell in love with this word diaspora. Yes. Why? What kind of meaning connotates for you, as opposed to other, all a bunch of names given who are coming from Africa, or, probably who are not originally from the Netherlands?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's because of you can see that there were various words to describe us, giving by like whether it's the government or other political parties. First, we had the word allochtoon. That's really a word for someone who's not really originally from here.
In Dutch.
In Dutch, yeah. And then you have things like,
what would be the equivalent in English? So that
the funny thing is, they made this up. There is no equivalent in English. Allochtoon really means, but they stopped using it because it was really hurting, actually, in a way. Allochtoon, and you had allochtoon and autochtoon. Autochtoon meaning you are really, from the Netherlands, born here, generations, etc. And allochtoon, even second generation, third generation, they will still call you allochtoon. That means they will still call you a little bit different. You're still not really Dutch,
Yeah.
And now, nowadays, it's more like Dutch people with a bicultural background or Dutch with a migration background. So they are kind of changing it. But no one is using the word diaspora, only a few diasporians themselves. And this is what makes it so powerful. It's a name or a description that we gave it to ourselves. And I feel that diaspora is a very powerful word because all the other words, they've been problematized in media or in, used by political right parties to be like, well, all of these migrants or all of these Dutch with a biculture, all of these, they're criminals or they're this or they're that. And this is like a new word. It has nothing on it. It's something that we give ourselves. And
Yeah.
it's so powerful and strong. And that's why I always say, like, I'm a proud diasporian, if people
Yeah.
ask,
Yeah,
what is
it's
it?
funny.
Or,
Yeah, it's something that I never saw it from that angle, but it's because it's owned. You have that ownership
yeah,
of the word.
that's the
So
thing.
yeah, I
Yes.
think that has also a profound impact on it.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about you did study political science and international
Yes.
relation, and I think also is that what you did in your bachelor? On
My bachelor was more focusing on law. So my
okay.
bachelor is in law, and then my master's is, yes, political science.
And you started to work on immigration and migrants and all those things.
Yeah.
Was it deliberately that because growing up you saw a gap, that there was something that you needed to change? Why? And then I believe there is a connection also what brought you to found your organization,
Yeah.
Lemat Foundation. So tell us about that. Like,
Yeah.
what was the motivation and then how did you found it? And, you can
Yeah.
also tell us what your
So actually, so I did my master's in New York, and then I came back in 2014. And when I came back, you have like let's say they were calling it here the refugee crisis, 2014, 2015. Many refugees were coming
okay.
to Europe. And actually, then I started working for the COA, and the COA is like the government organization that takes care of the reception of all refugees. So they are managing all of these camps in the Netherlands. And with the COA, I would also work in Lampedusa, in Sicily, in Turkey, all on the
Oh, okay.
relocation, the relocation schemes, what were made up by the European Union. They said we need to relocate more and distribute more fairly over Europe. So I was in the field. I was sent by COA to work there. And actually, during my work, I was really seeing a gap between Dutch policies and the need of certain newcomers. And me, because I'm an Eritrean Dutch, I would see, what culture they come from and what maybe their expectations and needs are. But I would also say the Dutch policy that is really made from this, I also say, a Western view,
Mm-hmm.
expecting certain things that are not really. How do you say it? That's not really cultural sensitive. They were not really cultural aware actually about it. So, but me, because growing up between two cultures, I would say, hey, I think you have to like change this a little bit. And then also going to the Eritreans and saying, okay, like in the Netherlands, you have to do it a little bit like this. Like a small example, my colleagues would say, you know what, I don't think Eritreans really want to have class, or they're not, when I have them in my Dutch class, they don't
Mm-hmm.
seem that they're really anticipating, they're just looking out of the window, they don't look me in my eyes. And then I said, well, you're a teacher and they have a respect for you, and because of the respect, they don't look at you directly in your eyes. But
Hmm.
she has a completely different misconception of that. So there was a lot of things going on, and what was underneath it, I always call it like an intercultural miscommunication. And
Hmm.
this is like the richness of a diaspora, is what I always say.
Yeah, yeah.
Knowing both cultures, you can really look at it from a different approach and be like, okay, so here, within the Dutch institutions, we have to be a little bit more cultural aware, and also looking at the newcomer side. Okay, in the Netherlands, this is important. Look them in the eyes, speak loud, be strong,
Yeah,
etc.,
yeah.
etc. Yeah.
Very
So
direct. And
yes,
you
yes.
can interpret them also like being rude.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and even so I felt that I was always going in between. The Eritreans, they were asking me things, and then my colleagues were asking me things, and I said, okay, so and there were things happening, and sometimes they were becoming this negative. How do you say it? negative perception of newcomers, from African countries. And I was like, hey, this is not fair. It's all because of this intercultural, most of it is because of the intercultural communication, but also not realizing what they have been through, even on the road. I mean, if we look at Libya or the Mediterranean Sea, or, the whole with the human smugglers and everything. So I said, okay, we have to start something to create more awareness, for cultural awareness, but also to ask and lobby for the needs of newcomers, and also, to let them know what they have been through and how we can help them more effectively to really participate here in this society. So this is how I started Lemat.
Yeah.
In one way, what we do is we go to gemeentes, to the municipalities, and we advise them on policy making, and we give them trainings on cultural awareness, etc. And on the others, we empower newcomers. We tell them, like, how it works in the Netherlands. We practice with them. How do you go to a job interview? What kind of school or education you can follow, etc., etc.
What would you say, like, the most important thing, like a milestone for your organizations that you achieved by having Lemat?
Wow. Wow, that's a good question. I think the milestone, maybe there was a switch, like in the beginning, like in the first 2 years, like we were like, okay, you have to, there's a group coming, you have to give them better, how do you say it, guidance, and you have to do this. And they were like, okay, we'll see. And then suddenly, I think after 2 years or something, there was like a switch, and they were realizing what we have been saying. And suddenly they were like, okay, please come, we need you. And after that as well, there were more organizations
So
that
a
were
switch
working on
from the
this.
Dutch side, you're saying?
Yeah, from the Dutch side. Yes. So I think that's a nice one. But also looking at newcomers who, were here maybe, I don't know, who came in the beginning, and we started working with them, and now they all have their own jobs and families and doing so well.
That's probably a good testimony.
That's the best. Yeah, that's the best. And now that I am running for parliament or for the Green Party, they are so happy, and they're so they just want to do everything. They're just calling me and like, what can I do? How can I help? How can I help? So it's
you, without
amazing.
knowing, you kind of founded, or you created this fan base. But I mean, maybe you're not thinking to have to be in a political party. I don't know. Maybe you will tell us later on when we talk about it. So do you advise, like, for example, you focus, for how long was Lemat around, or is it still functioning?
It's still, right? So I founded the organization with my mom 5 years ago. Yeah, we did together, because my mom is
she
like,
deserves the credit.
No, she's like I have, like, there are so many youth, so many youngsters in the north of the Netherlands, and they call her mom as well. So I really, in the few years, I really got gained of, I mean, how do you say it? I really have more brothers and sisters. Yes. So it's really, and the way they respect her and carry her, it's lovely to see. So blessings. And so we founded it 5 years ago, but now we also have a great team, actually, with a lot of people who are working with us, volunteers, but also trainers. And we worked through the whole country. And actually last year, we also started this, because when suddenly, when there was this Corona crisis and the lockdown, every information was in Dutch. So people in our organization were like, what's happening? Like, you even had families that would take their children to school, and then the school was closed. They were like, what is going on in this country?
Wow.
So together with other organizations, with my colleagues from other organizations like Jordi Lassoy and Samuel Tekeste and Mohammed Badran, like, we all have our organizations. We were like, we have to do something. So we started this Corona help desk in March last year during the first lockdown, and that everyone could call when they had questions. And then all the volunteers picking up the phones were Tigrinya speaking or Arabic speaking people. And Amharic speaking, by the way.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like, because we have a few, like Jordi, for instance, she speaks both languages. So they could also answer in
That,
Amharic.
that was really interesting, yeah, to close
Yeah,
that gap. You think like, like such a mistake cannot happen in the
yeah,
Netherlands, that
yeah,
information will be available in every language. And then sometimes our ability to speak or understand English, we take it for
yeah,
granted, and people
yeah,
don't think about those people, who
yeah,
really don't
yeah,
understand the
definitely.
spoken
Yeah.
language here. I understand Lemat is mainly focusing on the people who are coming from Eritrea. Are there such organization, who are working for the African diaspora? It could be Ethiopia, it could be Ghana, and such a network between you and them?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm also involved in different diaspora activities as well. There you have Africa in Motion. They're a diaspora organization. We organize something sometimes with them as well. You have Afrika Dag. FMS always organize this once a year, and I'm also in the board of
Yeah,
FMS.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm in their board as well. So even apart from Lemat, I'm also involved in various diaspora activities. And then it's like diaspora, like everything, like whether it's from Sudan or Congo or doesn't
Okay.
matter. So I really find that very powerful. Like I really love the whole, diaspora community.
Interesting. I just can't imagine what a purposeful life you are living, yeah, this is it. If this is what you want, it's not only me, okay, I achieved this much, but also I want to impact, I want to help others, to achieve what they want. Now, tell me about, so one of the other activities that you are doing is advocating for the inclusion of the African diaspora within the Dutch government and non-governmental organization, like, for example, you in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or NGOs that works on the in Africa. Do you believe yourself that the Netherlands has reached to a point that it has no option but to include the African diaspora, but to include the multicultural people? Do you believe that it reached
Yeah.
such a point?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, like even if you look at last year, the Black Lives Matter movement, the Black
Mm-hmm.
Lives Matter movement, these are people who've been here as well and who are like, it's over now, the whole racism, we need to be more included, there need to be more representation, diversity. There is so much more in all of these movements, but also the diaspora has been fighting for this for years as well. There are some key role players. I mean, there is Fatima from Hirda, and like I said, Max Kofi from Africa in Motion. There's a lot of organizations that have
Mm-hmm.
been lobbying to include the diaspora in certain policy making, like for instance, like you said, like the relations towards Africa, so maybe in the NGO field or in the foreign affairs field. So, and I think this is a very difficult, no, a very important thing that they have been already asking attention for, and I really hope that this will be the year that they were really going to be included. Yeah, because
Yeah,
you
I
see
see a lot
how,
of candidates, and I had a chance to talk to Germa. I think we
yeah,
talked
yeah,
about it, and then I see also Haptamu, which I
Artamu,
would love to meet. And wow, it's already a lot from East Africa, and
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah,
there is a
yeah.
lot that I didn't know about. But how smooth was it from the Dutch side to, to include the African diaspora? What was it like?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a start. I think we're not there yet. I think it's a start. And I think we have to incorporate the diaspora in many levels, not only in the political level, but also in the social, in more economic organizations, like everywhere in a way. Mm, but I think because of this last few years, more and more people were saying, "Hey, how is it possible that in the parliament there is no one from with the Afro or Caribbean background? How is it possible that there is?" Well, no, I have to be fair because there are some with a Moroccan background, but they were saying like, how come there is no one with like a brown person, let's say a brown
Yeah,
person in parliaments,
yeah, yeah,
like there
yeah.
are so many of us,
So
like
tell
how
us,
is it not represented?
statistics might help us to understand how serious or how the situation looks like. Is there any African Dutch, can I say? Yeah, with a brown person, even explicitly like that so far before this movement started? Are there
You had them, yeah,
from
before, yes.
Caribbean?
As well, like you had someone from Suriname and from the Caribbean, but you also had a Somalian lady a few years ago, Ayan Hirsi Ali.
Is this the one
But
who wrote a book?
yes,
Okay,
I'm not a very,
big
like,
fan.
yeah, it's not, we don't have the same ideals, let me say it like
Okay.
that, let me put it like that. So yeah, but that's been a while, but actually, and then you had some people from Suriname, or from the, like you said, from the Caribbean background, but not at this moment, not in the last 4 years. So this is this is also why more and more people said, hey, there needs to be a change. There need to be more representatives in the politics, because then in the politics, they can lobby also for our needs, and they can also incorporate our needs, people from the diaspora, people with a different background. So this is, I think, why people find it so important, and why luckily more parties find it also important, so that they have, like you said, more diversity on their lists. And yeah, so I think it's a good start, and I hope we can
Yeah.
just
I,
continue
I,
this
I
path.
always say a very, if you want to change something, change the education, which is really the
Mm,
base for everything. I'm so Pan-African. That's how I describe myself. And I did found an organization that was called African Youth Association right after my college. That was the first thing for me which I did. And I worked for different organizations that are affiliated with African Union, one way or the other, networking. But, at the end, my conclusion is, okay, if you want it, because everything is so politicized and connected,
yeah,
if I want to make a change, it has to start from me, from my
yeah,
family, that I have to invest on my children. Just imagine if I work on my two children. I mean, they get a different education in school. And then if I give them the proper, the education that they need to know about Africa, that its history is beyond
yeah,
slavery. Africa was a kingdom and a
yeah.
queendom, all those things. Then just imagine the change that you bring. So this brings to me to ask you, how is the assessment, or is there any movement to change the education? Because I hear a lot
There
of things.
is,
It can be
yeah,
rumor, but I think also
yeah.
people have done a research. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you asked this question, because it's so very important. Because I
Yeah.
really recognize what you were saying. I remember with my little brother, trying to prepare him for a test, and I was reading his books, and I was like, wait, this is not the real history of Africa. You know what? Let me tell you
Yeah.
something else. And then I would, like, go on,
Yeah.
because you have no idea what it does for an empowerment of that child as well. Not to see only people who look like you being like in a certain way. It's very important for them to see that they are also part of something beautiful, like you said, a kingdom, to empower
Yeah.
themselves. It's so important for them sense of belonging as well, and their cultural identity. And now more and more initiatives started to rewrite some curriculum. So there is more of the people from, let's say, the Suriname descent and Afro-Caribbean descent, who are really trying and lobbying as well to change some curriculums. And more schools are, you see there is a movement going on. I know there is one teacher in the Hogeschool of Den Haag, I think. He really started a class on this rich history as well. Yeah,
Oh, okay. On beside
yeah,
as well. Yeah, because you see, it's very visible when you see that, in the university, what kind of the Dutch society are
mm,
really making it to the university, given to
yeah,
the very multicultural background of a Dutch society. You kind
yeah,
of, believe what people say. And, those division, I really don't understand it. But, those who want, there's at some level, they kind of divide them, those who have a good
mm,
grades, and then the
mm,
other ones. So you see the difference. People are already, children, they know, in a way, they kind of assume where their destination is. And that's
yeah,
really hurting. Yeah.
yeah. It is. It is. This is why. This is also why I'm with the Green Left Party. It's really, they really want to focus on equal opportunities within the school, the education system, because for instance, like if your kid is maybe not doing very well or has some problems maybe with I don't know, language or
Yeah,
math,
yeah.
if you have parents who have like a high income, for instance, they can hire a private teacher to also, give them some extra, and then at least, like you said, when the time is when they have to be divided to the certain levels here in this country,
Yeah.
they are prepared, and this is why the Green Left, GroenLinks, is saying like, no, we need to also have something after school education in a way for everyone. It should be accessible for everyone so that everyone can really meet those requirements to go to the level that you really wishes for. And another thing is like when they are, I think they are like 11, it's in grade 8 in groep 8 when they are
Mm-hmm.
being, can you imagine you're 10 or 11 years and then suddenly
Mm-hmm.
they were being saying like, you go to the VWO and you go to the this. And our party wants to change that. They want to make it 3 years, so after you're 10 or 11, when you go to the how do you say, to high school, they want
Mm-hmm.
to give you 3 years so you can see what is the best level for you, and after 3 years then you can go into the one of these best levels. So I
Okay.
really
Oh,
think
I was
that
coming to you to the Dutch party thing, but it's good that you mentioned it. Uh, is there like okay, you said I was gonna ask like the achievements in terms of being advocating for the inclusion of the African diaspora. You already told us before 4 years, like in the last 4 years, there wasn't, but now there's this kind of change or awakening, can we say it? Probably the Black Lives Matter was a
I
push
think,
button,
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
because I remember like for so long people were I mean, I was here since 2016, since I came for this for the study, and I didn't see it as a subject. I mean, it kind of circulate on the internet, but the issue of what is his name, Black Pete, or whatever.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
Black Pete, yeah, yeah. Black Pete,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
I always get so I said, okay, you know what? At some point, I'm gonna hold my children. I don't think we need to celebrate. Sometimes you want them to be a child, and you
Yeah,
don't want
I
to
know.
put that division. But
Yeah.
but also they have to be aware. I always tell, okay, like this is a tough world. Just being Black, there are certain things you have to know in addition to the other people what they know. So uh, and for the first time, yeah, the prime minister talked about it, and in a few years, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he said there will not be Black Pete,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I don't know if he said it like that, but yeah, he did say something after
Yeah,
years because he used to be really more nonchalant about it, like, ah, it's not
yeah,
that serious. But now,
exactly.
like you said, after these movements, after these, like seeing that more and more Dutch people were, standing for this point to really kick out Zwarte Piets, what they call it. Um, you see that he changed as well, and then he said, well, okay, so he came around, let's say it like that. um and I think that's a very amazing example from a grassroots initiative that came this far.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about it, like sometimes people are like, what, the system will never change anyway, or it will not change anyway. And then I always say, like, guys, really be honest. Have you ever imagined that 5 years ago, when we were in this Black Pete discussion 5 years ago, would you
Mm-hmm.
ever imagine now, 5 years later, that it's almost abandoned everywhere? And then they're like, no, you're right, you're right. I said, this is what I mean, like grassroots initiatives or something which you, if you want to change something and you work on it, like it can be so powerful. I'm not going to say it's going to change in one day, but at
Yeah,
least
true.
you create a movement, and it was really change never comes in a day, but
True.
there is definitely some possible, there is a lot of possibilities, and there is a lot of, and I think things like this, whether it's the kick out Zwarte Piet movement, it gives us hope as well. I'm not
Yeah,
saying we're
it
there
does.
yet, but at least you can see like,
Really
hey,
matters for the children. Yeah,
yeah,
that's all
definitely.
about it. Now tell us, so Milka Yemane is a candidate for Dutch Green Party. let's start. What does it mean? You are not a member yet, or what's going to happen now? We all know that Netherlands will have an election in the mid-March, in this month.
Yeah.
So first, what does it mean being a candidate, meaning like as opposed to member? And then what's going to happen? What is the expectation?
Yeah.
Actually, before that, it's good also to tell us why you decide to be
To go
in a political
politics.
party.
Yeah, thank you. So actually, I think it was in last summer, the chairwoman of GroenLinks called me and she asked me if I was interested in this talent class for upcoming candidates for the parliament election. And I was like, okay, but I don't have political experience, I'm just like in the civil society and doing my thing there. She said, yeah, we know, but just, go and we'll see. I said, okay. So I went and I
So
liked
at
it.
that
And then,
point, it didn't mean that you will be in the political party. It was just
no,
a class given.
yes, just a talent class and just to see if they would like you and if you would like the work or what it means. It was like a introduction course in a way. And then I enrolled in this whole procedure, and then they put me on the list. And then you always have a list from 1 to, let's say for our parties, 1 to 50. And you can see that it depends on how many zetels you get, like how many people vote for you in a way. That the first, I'm just saying, Green Left Party, like they're not the biggest party. So for them, probably 1 till 14 will get in right away. But then the other one, so I'm on number 34, only if they would get 30 zetels, then I would get in.
Okay.
But as it's not a very big party, it may not happen. But then there is another way that you can get in, and this is by, you call it voorkeurstemmen. Voorkeurstemmen means, how do you say it? If you as a person, so normally when they go vote for Green Left, they can pick what number they want. And if, let's say, 18,000 people from whole Netherlands picked 34, picked me, you will go directly into the parliament.
Okay.
This is like voorkeurstemmen. What is it in Dutch? In English, it's like favorite vote or something. I don't know. I don't have a good word for it.
Okay. I have no idea as well. Okay.
So this is actually what it means. So now I'm just doing my campaign. I'm asking people to vote and I think it's of course it would be great if you vote for Green Left and if you vote for me, but I just think it's even more important that you go and vote, because at this moment there is 45% of the biggest four diaspora groups like the Suriname, Antilles, and Moroccan and the Turkish, 45% of them don't vote. So
normally,
in a way,
why?
that's a big, because they I think they lost trust maybe in the government. They don't feel represented by the government. It has a lot to do, I think, with these things. And also, I think it also matters that you don't really have a lot of people that looks like you or come up for the needs that you want to be represented as well. But if you don't vote, certain parties will only grow bigger, and those are not always the parties that are, having who are going to meet your needs or your ideals. So it's very important that you look at the parties, which one fits you the best, and also look at what person within that party can represent your needs the best as well.
So your motivation to join was so if that lady of the chairwoman of the party didn't call you, you wouldn't think really joining a political party?
Not now. I think before, like some people asked me before, like, hey, would you be interested, or would you want to think about it? And I was like, yeah, later, And I don't know, maybe it was because we were during a lockdown. Like she called me, and then I had the time to really think about it. Normally you're so busy in your day-to-day life, and you're just like, yeah, maybe, and then you just leave it, and then it comes up again another time. So I think that has to do with it. For me as well, I was like, I think I would first start on the municipality level so that you can basically learn the political game in a way, what is the political, what does it mean to be in a political party, and and then from municipality go to maybe the parliaments, you know. So I don't think I expected this to happen, but I also see it as a very exciting opportunity and to go for it, because in a way we do a lot within the civil society and we gain, like we discussed, a lot of milestones, to be really honest. But sometimes you just, you know, cross these political walls, you know, and then you're
Yeah.
like, okay, so something within that chamber, something within that parliament needs to be changed for us to also do our work better within the civil society. So it was always been like somewhere like in me, maybe in the back of my head, but I don't know if it would be now.
So what do we like, what makes the Dutch Green Party, you know, I mean, there should be some interest for you even to accept
Yeah.
position made by the chairwoman. What did you see different as opposed to other parties in the country?
So one of the biggest thing is that they are very welcoming and more humane towards refugees and refugee rights. Green Left Party is mostly the party that comes up for the rights of refugees, and also like all these things happening, like they are the one asking questions about Libya, for instance, you know, and there's not a lot of parties doing this. So for me, that was always something why I liked this party even before. And then the whole, we always call it the left side. So the thing that they wanted to be more honest. They feel that the gap between the rich and the poor is too big, so they want the rich and the big companies to pay more taxes, and the low and middle income less taxes, so that you are, having a smaller gap. And also, like I was talking before about the equal opportunities within workforce, but also within the education system. I think that's very important. And then also climate and climate change, working against climate change, because these two things are really interconnected with each other. If we look at that we are here in the Western countries, we are actually doing the most, you know, if we look at our emissions and all of these things. But who is carrying the biggest burden? It's also our continent. It's also Africa. You know, so you see this whole desertification going on and all of these horrible things, and multinationals leaving countries really dirty behind, you know. I mean, look at Shell. And this is what they also really, this is why they really fight against climate change. And I think that's very important, because for me, climate, migration, equal opportunities, racism is all interconnected with each other. And that's why I find it so important that you have these two main things within one party.
That's really interesting. But so you said in general that the culture of people going to vote is really low, especially amongst the all. Can we say, I always struggle with this word, non-Dutch. I mean, they are Dutch, whether they're from Morocco or Ethiopia or Eritrea. What should we call them? All of them diaspora? That also kind of...
I would say diaspora, or sometimes they say Dutch with a bicultural background.
Okay,
like
yeah.
me, I'm mostly I say diasporian or Eritrean Dutch, yeah, something like that.
I you know, because just to say only diasporian, sometimes I feel like, okay, did I degrade? You know, they become Dutch, and like, am I taking something away from?
Yeah, I understand.
This paper that they get from being Dutchness. Okay.
Yeah. No, a lot of what I hear mostly is Dutch with a bicultural background. Dus Nederlanders met een biculturele achtergrond. That's most of the time what I hear.
So how do you do the campaign? How is it going so far?
It's okay. It's a different time to campaign, because everyone who's been in politics before were telling me like, oh, it's too bad that this is your first time because of COVID and the lockdown. Like, you can't really visit places and go, you know, speak with people about, you know. So a lot of it is online. I'm doing a lot on Instagram and Facebook and having talks like this. And so it's a lot of this is online. Actually, it's a lot of online campaigning.
I'm very excited for you, and then congratulations, by the way, which I didn't say.
Thank you.
I'm informally on this interview, so really congratulations and well done. And I really hope that, especially for the younger generations, that they will have someone represented, and even to see you like campaigning for, even if you don't make parliament or anything, but it is possible. Yeah, that's really important, and I really encourage you to reach out, by any means. I'm happy also that I'm doing this network, that I can share it with people. People are the negative story is always, done, whether we like it or not. Somebody else is busy doing it, and but such a positive story needs to shine out and needs to be told. So for people, when we share this, to follow you and to support you and vote for you, where can they find you, and what will be your last message to them? I give you the floor.
Well, thank you. First of all, I really hope that everyone is going to vote. Find a party that meets your ideals and is coming up for your rights as well. I would like to be the diaspora voice within the parliaments, and for me, the best party to do it with is the Green Left Party, GroenLinks. So if you want to vote for me, you can vote for me going to the stembureau and put in GroenLinks and then number 34, Milka Yemane. And please spread the news. And also, if you have questions for me, like about politics or maybe even about other parties, it doesn't matter. Feel free to reach out for me. I'm on Instagram, Milka_Yemane, or on Facebook, Milka Yemane. So, and otherwise you can always reach me through Mahlet as well. Thank you all very much. Yes.
I'm very happy and I'm very honored to have you here. And I really hope when is the date of the election?
The 17th. So it's March
all in
17th.
One day?
Yeah, well, you have 15, 16, 17. 15, 16 is for people who are more vulnerable because of the coronavirus. Okay. And then the 17 will be the main day for everyone to get to vote. Yeah. So online? Everyone will get this, how do you call it? This one from their own gemeente. They will get a stempas, so the voting billet.
Okay.
And here it will also say the address where you can go to put in your vote.
Okay. Very, very nice. Very well organized. Thank you very much. I really hope to have you here again after the election and, update us what went.
That would be great.
Probably maybe in person next time, that we not online, Thank you. Thank you for your time. Really, I know you're busy.
Thank you so much, Mahlet. Thank you, Amasagenalo. Thank you. Have a great day.
Amasagenalo from my side also.
Okay.
So, bye.
Bye.